Hey garden fam, welcome back to The Sprout. Today we're talking about one of the most iconic spring flowers in the world, the tulip. Those bright cup-shaped blooms in red, yellow, pink, purple, orange, white, and even near black. They're the sign that winter is finally over. They look stunning in borders, containers, and cut flower arrangements. And the best part? They're surprisingly easy to grow if you know a few simple tricks. But here's the thing, a lot of people plant tulips once, enjoy them for a single spring, and then treat them as annuals. They dig them up and throw them away, or the bulbs just don't come back the next year. That doesn't have to happen. With the right planting depth, the right timing, and the right soil conditions, your tulips can come back year after year. Before we dive in, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. We put out new gardening videos every week, and I don't want you to miss the next one. Also, drop a comment below. Do you plant tulips in your garden? What's your favorite color? I'd love to hear about it. Now let's get into it. First, let's talk about the different types of tulips. There are thousands of varieties, but they fall into a few main groups. Single early tulips bloom early in spring. They have classic cup-shaped flowers and grow about 10 to 16 inches tall. Double early tulips look almost like peonies. They have layers of petals and bloom early. Triumph tulips are the most common type. They bloom in mid-spring and come in every color. They're reliable and strong. Darwin hybrid tulips are tall, sturdy, and known for coming back year after year. They're the best choice if you want perennial tulips. Lily-flowered tulips have pointed, flared petals that look like lilies. They're elegant and bloom in late spring. Fringed tulips have petals with fringed edges, very dramatic. Parrot tulips have ruffled, feathered petals in wild colors. And species tulips are the wild ancestors of garden tulips. They're small, tough, and naturalize easily. Now let's talk about when to plant. Tulips need a cold period to bloom. Plant the bulbs in fall, after the soil has cooled down. The best time is when nighttime temperatures are consistently between 40 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit. In most climates, that's September to November. If you plant too early, the bulbs may sprout in fall and get damaged by winter cold. If you plant too late, the roots won't have time to establish before the ground freezes, so aim for that sweet spot. Now let's talk about where to plant. Tulips need full sun. They need at least 6 hours of direct sunlight every day. In too much shade, they won't bloom well, and the stems will get leggy and floppy. They also need well-draining soil. Tulip bulbs rot in wet soil. If you have heavy clay, plant them in raised beds or containers. Before planting, amend your soil with compost or sand to improve drainage. Now let's talk about pH. This is important. Tulips prefer neutral to slightly alkaline soil with a pH between 6.0 and 7.0. They don't like strongly acidic soil. If your soil is too acidic, add garden lime in the fall before planting. This helps the bulbs take up nutrients and prevents tip burn. If you're planting tulips in containers, use a good quality potting mix with perlite. You don't need to worry about pH as much in containers because you control the mix. Now let's talk about how to plant. Dig a hole or a trench. The general rule is to plant tulip bulbs at a depth 3 times the height of the bulb. For most tulips, that's about 6 to 8 inches deep. Plant with the pointy end facing up. If you can't tell which end is up, plant the bulb on its side. It'll figure it out. Space bulbs about 4 to 6 inches apart. For a natural look, plant them in clusters or drifts, not in straight lines. You can also plant them in layers, a technique called lasagna planting. Put late blooming tulips deepest, then mid-season, then early blooming on top. This gives you continuous blooms from the same spot. Now let's talk about watering. Water the bulbs thoroughly after planting. This helps settle the soil and encourages root growth. After that, you don't need to water again until spring unless you have an unusually dry fall. In spring, when the leaves emerge, water if the soil is dry. Once the flowers fade, stop watering. Tulip bulbs need dry conditions during their summer dormancy. Now let's talk about fertilizing. At planting time, mix a balanced bulb fertilizer into the soil, something like 10-10-10 or bone meal. In spring, when the shoots first appear, apply another light dose of fertilizer. Do not fertilize after the flowers fade. You want the bulb to go dormant, not keep growing. Now let's talk about after-bloom care. This is where most people go wrong. When the flowers fade, cut off the flower head. This is called deadheading. But leave the leaves alone. Do not cut them back, do not braid them, do not fold them over. The leaves are photosynthesizing and storing energy in the bulb for next year's flowers. Let them turn yellow and brown naturally. This takes about 4 to 6 weeks. Once the leaves are completely dry and crispy, you can remove them. If you want to dig up your bulbs, now is the time. But if you want them to come back next year, leave them in the ground. Now let's talk about perennializing tulips. Not all tulips come back reliably. Some are better than others. Darwin hybrid tulips are the best for perennializing. They're bred to last. Species tulips also come back year after year and even multiply. Triumph tulips and single early tulips sometimes come back. Parrot tulips and fringed tulips are less reliable. Treat them as annuals. To encourage perennializing, plant bulbs deeply, at least 8 inches. Plant them in well-draining soil. Let the leaves die back naturally, and don't plant them where you water heavily in summer. They need dry dormancy. Here's where you come in. Drop a comment below. Do you treat tulips as annuals or perennials? Have you had success getting them to come back? What's your secret? I'd love to know. Now let's talk about growing tulips in containers. Tulips are stunning in pots. Use a pot with drainage holes. Put a layer of gravel or broken pottery at the bottom. Use a good quality potting mix, not garden soil. Plant the bulbs close together. You can even crowd them. Water after planting. Over winter, move the pot to a protected spot. In cold climates, you can bury the pot in the ground or wrap it in bubble wrap. In spring, when you see growth, move the pot to a sunny spot and water regularly. Now let's talk about common problems. Let's go through them one by one. Problem 1. No flowers. This is usually because the bulbs were planted too shallow, the soil is too wet, the leaves were cut back too early, or the winter wasn't cold enough. Deep planting, good drainage, and patience are the fixes. Problem 2. Short stems. This is often a response to warm winter weather. The bulbs don't get enough cold. Not much you can do except choose varieties that are more cold tolerant. Problem 3. Broken tulips. This is when tulips have streaks of different colors, not the normal variegation but irregular streaks. This is caused by a virus called tulip breaking virus. It's spread by aphids. Remove and destroy affected bulbs. Don't compost them. Problem 4. Bulbs rotting. Too much water. Improve soil drainage or plant in raised beds. Problem 5. Pests. Squirrels and voles love tulip bulbs. To protect them, plant bulbs under a layer of chicken wire, or sprinkle blood meal or cayenne pepper in the planting hole. You can also plant bulbs in cages made of hardware cloth. Problem 6. Botrytis or tulip fire. This is a fungal disease that causes brown spots and twisted leaves. Remove affected plants immediately. Don't plant tulips in the same spot for several years. Let me give you a few quick answers to common questions. Can I plant tulips in spring? You can, but they may not bloom until next year. They need a cold period first. How long do tulip blooms last? About 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the weather. Cool weather extends the bloom time. Do deer eat tulips? Yes, deer love tulips. Use deer repellent or plant them in fenced areas. Can I leave tulip bulbs in the ground all year long? Yes, if you have good drainage and your winters are cold enough. In very warm climates, you may need to dig them up and refrigerate them. How deep should I plant tulip bulbs? 6 to 8 inches deep, measured from the base of the bulb. When is the best time to plant? Fall, when soil temperatures have cooled below 60 degrees. Let's wrap everything up. Tulips are one of the joys of spring. Plant them in fall, 6 to 8 inches deep, in full sun and well-draining soil. They prefer neutral to slightly alkaline pH. Add lime if your soil is acidic. Water after planting, then leave them alone until spring. After they bloom, cut off the flower heads but leave the leaves to die back naturally. For the best chance of perennializing, choose Darwin hybrid tulips or species tulips. Plant them deep, keep them dry in summer, and let the leaves fade on their own. Here's the most important thing to remember. Tulips are not demanding, they just need the right start. Plant them at the right depth, in the right soil, at the right time. Give them sun. Let the leaves die back, and they will reward you with that incredible burst of color that makes spring feel like a celebration. Before you go, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and leave me a comment. What's your favorite tulip variety? Do you plant them in beds or containers? What color dominates your spring garden? I want to hear about it. Also, what spring bulb should I cover next? Daffodils, hyacinths, crocuses? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Take care of your garden and it will take care of you. See you in the next video.